You're in a position where you've got some spare cash, or you are making an effort to put some financial footing under you for the first time. Chances are you are looking at the same three things you see on the internet. Put it towards your debt, park it in a bank, or put it in the market or some crypto. The hard part is, when you are at the beginning of this, there's no clear-cut answer. It comes down to you and what you can make work with your life. Before we get into it, I want to know, do you have an emergency fund? If you do, how much is in there? Or what kind of number are you going for this year? Put it down in the comments. But for now, let's look at the reality for most people who haven't made it to that $5,000 point. Up until you do, you are open to a lot of risk. It's a common enough place to be in, but it's not great when you come to terms with how exposed you are. You start to wonder, what happens if a phone breaks or a medical bill comes in out of nowhere? For some of you, a $200 or $400 hit is enough to mess up your budget for a while. Say you don't have the $5,000 and you just muddle through for a few years, covering your bills and maybe having $50 or $100 to show for it at the end of the month. If you live like that for your whole career, the interest you pay and the toll it takes on you adds up to a lot. Your head might be in a good place today, but one crisis and it's chaos. We don't want to be in that spot. I'm fixating on the $5,000 figure because it is the kind of goal you can put in the work for. And once you have it, it changes the way you see the world. I know I am putting a lot of structure in front of you, but we need to have a word about the emotional side of your finances. You have the same job, you run through the same motions every day, but your finances are on a whole other track. I want to get into the nitty-gritty of what it's like to have zero in the bank. You don't realize how much having $5,000 saved can change your life until you remember what it was like starting with nothing. When you don't have any money stashed away, interest is less of a number and more of a toll on your headspace. The lower your balance, the more reality makes you pay for it with anxiety. Put together that $5,000 buffer, and you've got a sure thing when it comes to your own well-being. No market to worry about, no sitting around for the S&P 500 to do its thing, no ups and downs. You open the app in the morning, and it's right there. Sure, the financial world will tell you to put your money in an index fund for a 10% return, but some years the market tanks 25% at the worst possible time, like when a medical bill is on the table. When you're at zero, you have to face how much your lack of options is costing you. If the cost of living was a non-issue and nothing ever went wrong, we wouldn't be here talking about this. We'd all be out spending and not giving a second thought to building a safety net. But in the real world, you can count on the unexpected. Without a little room to breathe, you're one bad month away from some high-interest trouble. Then there's the way being broke erodes your boundaries at work. If your income suddenly takes a hit, the rent, electric bill, and groceries still have to be paid. That pressure makes it much harder to say no, negotiate, or walk away from a bad situation. With no reserves, you get to a point where you have to put up with being mistreated or put in long hours for not enough because you can't spare a week without a paycheck. The world doesn't care if you're a good person. Inflation is what it is, and things happen. So let me show you why getting off that $0 mark and onto a $5,000 cushion is the one thing you should do. I want to put a fine point on the day your savings account tips over the $5,000 mark. The world around you won't look any different in the morning. You're not going to open your eyes and find a new house or a whole new clothes, but in your head, everything is going to be different. One benefit is that you've put an airbag in your financial life. When you are so wound up about making ends meet that it's all you can do to get through the day, there's no headroom for any kind of creative or long-range thinking. We all like to keep our losses to a minimum, sure, but I have no intention of living in fear of the unknown. With some cash in the bank, a hiccup is just a matter of logistics, not an emotional wreck that derails your month. Then there's the fact that you don't have to run to a credit card or some kind of predatory loan when things go sideways. In my book, that is the worst kind of debt. It's a way of robbing from your future to cover up for the past. You can make 8 or 10% in the market if you put in the work, as I mentioned. But with a card racking up 25% in interest, you don't even consider investing until you're out of that hole. It also takes the edge off. You don't want to make your life more of a hassle than it has to be. If you're so hard charging with your money that you have every last cent in some volatile stock and a near empty bank account, you're only building up stress for no good reason. So, what should you do once you hit this number? Save, invest, or clear your tab? Here is how I see it, and the order in which I'd put the questions to myself. If my life changed tomorrow, would I have enough cash to handle it without panicking? That's where the 5 grand comes in. Let me show you why. I know I've been on a bit of a roll with these ideas, but the math is what makes it real. Say you are driving to work and the transmission gives out. You're looking at a $1,200 bill. Without any savings, that's a bomb that blows up your budget and puts you in hock to the bank. But with $5,000 to your name, you pay it, you're fine, and you don't owe a dime. Or let's say you have a dental emergency and you have to come up with $800 on the spot. You have the funds, you write the check, and you still have $4,200 left in the well. No drama, you just carry on. You start to see that 5,000 is the line in the sand. It's enough to deal with the car, the doctor, a broken laptop, or even a gap between jobs without you having to go into debt. Now, you might be wondering what the point is of letting that money sit in a bank. Well, for one, if it's in a high-yield account, you're getting a steady 4 or 5% with no risk. But the other part of the return is what you're not paying in interest. Don't think of it as dead weight. It's doing its job by standing between you and the debt trap, and it lets you rest easy at night knowing you can handle whatever comes down the pike. Then there's the third big shift, how having 5 grand in the bank rewrites the rules of your relationship with your job. It's a matter of power. If you're making it from one check to the next and have nothing to show for it, you have no say in the marketplace. You put up with bad bosses, lousy hours, and being disrespected because you have to. You're in survival mode, and that's where you are. Put together $5,000 in cash, though, and you've put some serious assets on the table: time and options. I'll be straight with you. This isn't "I'm done, see you later" money. You can't go in there, tell your boss off, and head for the coast. It's not financial independence by any means. What it does do is take away that look of desperation. Some employers will pick up on your vulnerability and use it to get more out of you for less. With a cushion behind you, you can set some boundaries. They want you to put in free time or do something you're not comfortable with. You can just say, "No, I won't be doing that," and mean it. Say you're in a job that is a dead end and is wearing you down. With no savings, you're a prisoner there, dreading every day. But with 5,000 stashed away, you can start looking for an out without the panic. It lets you make some smart, long-term plays for your income, like getting a certification or an internship in a new field, instead of making hasty moves because you're scared. And here's something you don't hear enough in the personal finance world: the way it changes things at home. The trouble with money worries is they don't stay in the bank. They seep into everything: how you talk to your spouse, how you deal with the kids. When you're under that much pressure, something as small as a $30 subscription or a slightly more expensive grocery bill can spark a big argument over the weekend. We both know what's really going on. It's not about the groceries. It's the fear that you're running out and one wrong move could put the whole family in a bind. But once you have that 5,000 in a separate account, you put a bit of a buffer in your home life. So when a bill is a little higher than you thought, or there's a small error in the budget, it doesn't matter as much. You don't have to let a situation spiral into a panic and a shouting match. You can both just put in a good long breath, put the numbers in front of you, and say, "Look, it's fine." There is something about that kind of calm when it comes to your finances that changes the whole mood of the house. It makes room for a more open, loving dynamic instead of one where you're at each other's throats over money. And it has a way of altering how you deal with the world outside, too. Think about it. With no savings to your name, you're always on the back foot with friends. You can't be there for a dinner, a birthday present, or a trip out of town, so you end up making some sort of excuse. But put 5 grand in the bank, and you have the luxury of being straightforward. If an invite comes in for something pricey that doesn't suit your plans, you can just tell them, "I'll have to sit this one out, but I'd love to get together for something more low-key down the road." Then there's the way your own head is made up after you've put away some cash. It's a total 180 in how you see money. For years, if you were living from one check to the next, you fall into what I like to call the scarcity reflex. There is a certain logic to it, born of hard times. Why save? I never have any to begin with, and if I do put a little aside, some unforeseen bill is going to come and eat it up. I may as well have some fun with it while I can. But when you start to build up some real stability, you feel a kind of power. You see the money is where you left it. Your brain begins to put a higher price on the steady figure in your account than on the quick fix of a new purchase. That $5,000 is no longer just digits. It's a measure of your security. Once you make peace with that, you stop having to willpower your way through a day. Say you're in a store and you come across a $300 piece of tech or some designer gear. Old you would have swiped the card for a hit of dopamine. New you will do a quick mental calculation, and most of the time, it's a hard no. The peace of mind of leaving the money alone is just better than the object itself. In that way, you are no longer a consumer. You are using money as a means to an end. And that end is your freedom. But we have to be honest about the challenges that come with reaching this $5,000 mark. Without some self-knowledge, what should be a win can become a trap and undo everything you've put in to get here. That's where rich person syndrome shows up. You find yourself thinking, I'm in a good position with my cash now. I don't have to be as hard on myself with the books, or time for a new car, or a fancy getaway. It's a terrible way to think. $5,000 is a fine psychological buffer, but in the big picture, it's not much at all. If you let that be your reason to sign up for a $300 car payment or splurge on a $2,000 trip, you're tearing down your own safety net and right back where you started. You have to draw a hard line in the sand. This is for your security, not for what you want. Or you'll see someone who has just put their first $5,000 together and say, I need to put this to work right away, and dump it into some stock, crypto, or a retirement account with a hefty early withdrawal fee. Investing is great, no question, but if you deplete your liquid reserves for something volatile before you're set, you're making a bad bet. Then, life happens. You lose your job, or the roof gives way, and you have to offload those assets at a loss just to make ends meet. That's the last thing you want. Then there's the other side of the coin, being so fixated on the number 5,000 that you won't put the money to any use at all. So, once you've put those hazards behind you and got your head right, where do you go from here? Do you save more, tackle the market, pay down some debt? Here is how I would break it down, and I'd put these 3 questions to you in order. Let's say you have a lot of fixed costs, high rent, bills, kids. In that world, $5,000 may only be a month or 2 of runway. Your base is still a little thin. My advice is to play it safe and keep putting money aside until you have a solid 3 to 6 months of expenses under your belt. As I mentioned before, the interest rate is what will tell you which way to go. Say you're in the hole with some high interest debt. I'm talking 6, 7, 8% or more. Credit card balances at 24% is a prime example. In that case, put your savings on hold and put every spare dollar of your monthly surplus to work on wiping out that debt. Now, flip the script. Let's say the only thing on your plate is a student loan or a car payment with a rate you can't beat, like 3 or 4%. That's cheap money. You don't have to make it your number one concern to pay it off ahead of schedule. You could be making better returns by investing or even doing a little of both. Here's an example. You've made all your required payments for the month and you're left with $500. Your emergency fund is in good shape, so there's no hard choice to be made between saving, investing, or chipping away at a bill. Why not do a 50-50? Toss $250 into a retirement account to let the market work its magic over time, and use the other $250 to, well, you get the idea. The point I'm trying to make is, there is no one-size-fits-all rulebook for your finances, but as you hit certain milestones, the way you see things will change. When you are building a life, trade-offs are what count, not just the math. The right move is whatever puts you in a better spot than you were before. And the kind of peace of mind that comes with that is hard to put a price on. It's not some kind of riddle. Real progress is just being flexible and consistent for the long haul. Be disciplined with your budget and put aside that first $5,000, and you'll have the kind of mental and structural fortitude to go on and make $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. As for me, I'm going to keep being open with you on this channel about how I handle my own money. I like to keep it simple, with plenty of liquid safety and not a lot of fixed costs. I care more about my headspace and having my time than I do about any fancy stuff. If you're in the thick of it, trying to put together your first grand, or you're on the cusp of that $5,000, my advice is to keep your eye on the ball. Every dollar you put away is buying you some future security. Anyway, if you got something out of my video, I'd appreciate a like and a sub so you don't miss my future videos.